Hi guys! Welcome back to my channel, Ticking Together. As always, the goal of this channel is to provide education about and to raise awareness as to what it's like living with Tourette syndrome. In today's video, I wanted to talk to you guys about medication. Specifically, my medication journey with Tourette syndrome, because it has been a long time of trial and error until I got something that actually works. So for those of you new here, hi, my name is Carly, I am 23 years old, and I was diagnosed with Tourette syndrome when I was 12. So it's been a pretty long journey of dealing with tics, figuring out how to navigate the world with Tourette syndrome, and really just trying to be okay living with a condition that causes me to make involuntary movements and sounds a lot of the time. It's definitely been a journey, but as you can see in this video, I'm not ticking a lot, which is remarkable. So I wanted to talk about it because this is something that I feel like not a lot of social media people talk about with their Tourette syndrome diagnoses, is the fact that medication can work. And in my experience of watching other people on social media with Tourette syndrome, I don't always see the cases of people with medication and talking about, oh, this works, or no, this didn't work, or whatever the case may be. I don't see a lot of people talking about medication. And I don't see a lot of like, this worked for me stories. So I'm gonna talk to you guys about my new medication as well as my past medications, which either have worked or haven't worked, and how the concoction of meds I'm on now has really helped. And I just want to preface this by saying I'm obviously not a doctor, not a healthcare professional. I'm not encouraging the use of medication. I'm just simply telling you the story of my journey on medication with my Tourette syndrome and how it's worked for me, as well as how it hasn't worked for me, and in hopes that maybe you guys can get some knowledge out of this video, and maybe you can talk to your doctor if you want to try it. But also don't try it if you don't want to. Everyone has the right to choose medication versus no medication, so always research what's right for you. I know in the past I've made videos about me going through medication withdrawal, and that was horrible, so I don't always encourage medication use. And before medicating yourself, I would say definitely do the research. Even if your doctor prescribes something, do the research to be sure that this is the right drug for you, because sometimes it can be scary, the stuff they want you to put in your body. So that's my little introduction preface. Let's get into my story. So as I said, I was diagnosed with Tourette's when I was 12, but I've had tics for as long as I can remember. My pediatrician actually was the one that first put me on a medication called clonidine when I was around 12 years old, because he said, wow, you have a lot of tics, this is likely Tourette syndrome, let's put you on a medication to ideally stop the tics. And my psychiatrist as well, once I got to him, was pushing for the use of clonidine, and so I tried it and it was horrible. And being 12, I was exhausted. I had no energy, falling asleep literally everywhere. Like sitting down at the kitchen table eating dinner, I would fall asleep because I was just so exhausted on this medication. Hi. It really didn't help the tics at all. And I was new to medication. I think this was one of my first meds I was ever put on, and I hoped it would work, and it really didn't. And so from there, I was a little bit kind of like, my viewpoint was kind of tainted on medication. I was like, if this didn't work, why would I try anything else, you know? Alongside my clonidine, my psychiatrist actually did diagnose me with anxiety disorder as well as depression. So I was put on an anti-anxiety, antidepressant medication as well. And I don't remember the name, I think it was Cymbalta. I'm not on it anymore, but it didn't work either. It was really awful. And so my first experiences with medication for either neurological disorders or mental health were pretty awful. They didn't really help at all. And I was kind of like, oh, darn. Fast forward a bit more, I was put on a pill called fluphenazine, which I'm still currently on. And if you guys have followed my channel for a while, you would know that that is the medication that I was going through withdrawal from. And I'm still on it because, long story, but I'm still on it. So I was put on fluphenazine when I was probably around 14 years old, and It is used to treat Tourette syndrome and as well as other neurological disorders. It is an antipsychotic medication, so it's really heavy duty and it really does affect the brain. And I noticed a little bit of help with the tics, but they would come and go, they would wax and wane still with this medication, and it really didn't do a ton, but it was noticeably better than being on no medication. So I was on fluphenazine and I was staying on it and I was okay, but I still had a lot of tics, a lot of tic attacks, a lot of really bad tic days, and it really didn't do much. But my psychiatrist thought if I stayed on it a little bit longer, it might progressively get better. Fast forward a little bit more, the depression and anxiety was getting really terrible. I know that's not what I talk about on this channel very much, but I was put on Zoloft or sertraline, which I'm still on to this day. I was put on a really high dose. I think it was like 250, 300 milligrams of Zoloft daily, and that was a lot to take. And I'm still on it, but a lot of a lower dose now. Regardless, I was put on that alongside fluphenazine, and my medication concoction cocktail went skyrocketing. I was on a ton of pills daily and I really hated it. The side effects were brutal. I was gaining a ton of weight. I was really tired, no energy. I think the biggest one was the weight gain, which made me really sad because it was noticeable. I was definitely puffing out. I'm still a lot bigger than I was before, and it really affects my self-esteem. But that's one thing I hate about medication, which I'll get into a little bit later. So at this time, when I was about 14, I was on fluphenazine and Zoloft / sertraline, whatever you want to call it. And it was okay, it was working. My anxiety and depression was pretty bad. I ended up being hospitalized, which I might make a video on that. Do you guys want to hear a story time of me in kind of like a psych ward situation with my Tourette's and anxiety? Leave a comment letting me know if you want to hear about that, because I feel like it would be a good thing to talk about, maybe to get you guys some awareness and education about that scenario surrounding Tourette's. Let me know in the comments. But anyways, fluphenazine and Zoloft. Then I was ticking a lot more than usual, and my tics were definitely in a waxing period for years. It was probably 3 consistent years of just tick, 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 tick. Very bad tics. Sometimes I would go to the hospital emergency room with like tic attacks and they wouldn't help me. They would just say, go home, like you're crazy. And that was awful. So I went back to my psychiatrist and I was like, hey, I need help. So he put me on the concoction of fluphenazine and Intuniv. So I was on these 2 medications alongside my Zoloft still to try and help with all of my mental symptoms with my mental illness, as well as my Tourette syndrome, as well as OCD and all of that other kind of brain stuff. So that really did help too. I remember being put on Intuniv, I felt exhausted at the beginning again. I did gain a little bit of weight and it was just not the best. I know that when I was put on fluphenazine for the first time, I did gain a ton of weight. I think fluphenazine was the one that caused me to gain the most weight, and that was heart-wrenching. I was so sad to see my tummy get bigger and my arms get bigger and my face get rounder. I was just really sad to see that. But when I was on this concoction of fluphenazine and Intuniv, the tics did get noticeably better, but they were still very prominent. Like actually just until this year when I was 22, I think, is when they put me on this new medication. So until from about 16 to 22, I've been on fluphenazine and Intuniv consistently, and you guys have seen the videos of me. I still had a lot of tics and it wasn't super helpful. But in this video, as you can probably tell, not ticking a lot, and we're gonna get into why. So I am now on a medication called Pimozide. And the Pimozide has been remarkable. At the beginning, when I wasn't ticking, and even still to this day, I do feel a little bit sad and I feel like I'm grieving the loss of my tics. I did make an Instagram post explaining that, hey, I feel like an imposter because I'm spreading Tourette's awareness while I'm not ticking as much. And all of your comments genuinely made me so happy that you think that I'm still valid enough to post Tourette's awareness content, because I still have the experience. I'm just not ticking as much. And I mean, there still are some noticeable ones, but it's definitely not as much. And I can genuinely say my quality of life has improved. I'm able to sit still for longer periods, and it's just absolutely wonderful. My mind feels a lot more clear and I feel more stable emotionally as well as mentally. I just feel a lot better. This isn't to say that I still don't have tic attacks, because I do. I have tic attacks being on Pimozide. I feel like no matter what I'm on, regardless of how my journey goes. I will always end up having tic attacks here and there because it's just something that comes with the diagnosis of Tourette syndrome. So that's something, but being on Pimozide has really genuinely helped. This little pamphlet I got says that the use of Pimozide is to reduce uncontrolled movements, motor tics, or outbursts of words or sounds, vocal tics, caused by Tourette syndrome. Pimozide is a medication that works by decreasing the activity of a natural substance, dopamine, in the brain. Pimozide should not be used for mild symptoms. It should only be used if symptoms cause severe problems in everyday life and other medicines or treatments have not been effective. So when I read that for the first time, I was a little bit scared because I was like, dang, other medications haven't been super effective, but this seems pretty intense. Pimozide is also an antipsychotic medication, which kind of worried me because being on fluphenazine for so long also was a little bit kind of worrying. But now, at 23 years old, I am still on 1 milligram of fluphenazine, 2 milligrams of Intuniv, and 2 milligrams of Pimozide daily. And I know the doses may seem small, but they do really affect me. And it's just been really odd being on a medication that really does help, because so many people out there with Tourette's don't ever report this, that something really does help. And I feel so blessed that I have a medication that actually really genuinely did work wonders. I am able to suppress a lot easier, and it's not painful to suppress. It's more just like, okay, it's a chore, but I can do it. And the tics just aren't as severe. They're not as strong. They're a lot more subtle. I do a lot more subtle tics than the big grandiose ones. And I do feel sometimes like an imposter, that I'm not good enough to be posting about Tourette syndrome because I don't tic as much as the severe cases that are showcased on social media. And that makes me feel kind of bad. I think it just sucks that social media has turned mental illness and neurological disorders and stuff like that, just conditions in general, into a competition. That really hurts because I just want to show you guys my life with it and how I have learned to live with it, and how I want to just educate you guys on what it's like, because it has really affected my life for the past 15 years. It's been a really tough time. So I want to just make this clear real quick that please don't make things like this into a competition, and please, for the love of whoever is holy and good, don't tell people that they're faking Tourette's, because don't accuse people specifically, because I, on my TikTok, have been accused of faking Tourette's, and it's really messed me up because you guys don't even know how hard it's been to live with this. And the fact that now I have a medication that has kind of calmed the tics, it makes me feel even more of an imposter. I'm like, oh, like I know personally I'm not faking, but it makes it easier for you guys to say that I'm faking because I'm not taking in every video, and that really hurts. But I just wanted to come on here and talk about my medication journey because Pimozide has really helped. And if you're out there with Tourette syndrome and you want to try medication, I would say definitely obviously talk to your doctor, but hope is not lost. You might find something that works. It literally took me 15 years to find something that worked, but this works. I mean, you can still see that I have tics, but it definitely has lessened them. The vocal tics are a lot less, which I'm really thankful for. And I just wanted to say, like, don't be afraid to be yourself. Social media has been really brutal, and that's why I took a break for so long, but I'm back. And even though I'm not taking as much, I do want to provide education and awareness because this is something I've lived with for my whole life. And even though I am currently waning because of my medication, I still think I'm valid enough to let you guys know the truth about it and how it's like to live with it, especially as from someone's perspective who is on medication, and how it has helped, because as I said in the beginning of this video, I don't think a lot of people showcase this side of Tourette's, the medicated side. So that's it. I'm gonna wrap up this video here. If you guys have any questions about my medication journey or just medication in general, leave a comment and let me know. Let me know if you're on any medication, if you want to try it, if you're against medication. Let's start a conversation down there. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, or if it helped you, or if it just made you smile. I really appreciate all of the support I get. Give me a follow on my socials, Instagram and TikTok. I would really appreciate that, as well as subscribe to the channel here to stay tuned to educational content, as well as my life stories of living with Tourette syndrome for over 10 years. It's definitely been a wild ride, but being on Pimozide has really changed the journey for me, and I'm gonna continue to let you guys know how it's been, because it still is impacting my life. It's just a little bit different now. As always, we're learning together, we're laughing together, and we're ticking together. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.